will the sponsor yield to a question?
He will yield.
Gentlemen, can you outline for us and for those watching and listening today exactly what the timeline was of how this committee sub got to us today?
Lady from Jefferson 40, matter before the body is the House Committee sub, and the contents of the committee sub is what is debatable at this juncture. If you'd like to ask your question relating to the content of the committee sub, you're recognized to do so.
I would ask for a quick follow-up, Mr. Speaker. I would argue that the process by which the committee sub reached us on the floor today is as important as its content, and specifically would cite KRS 61.800, which states the formation of public policy is public business, shall not be conducted in secret, as well as 61.823, which lays out the process for notification of special meetings being at least 24 hours before that meeting is called. And I would ask how this particular process and this particular committee sub is not in violation of our KRS rules.
Again, lady from Jefferson, process is not before the body. The committee sub and the content of the committee sub is before the body.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. May I comment on the bill?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Speaker, I have not seen this committee sub. I've reviewed it very briefly. I'm not on the Education Committee. I just remember all of the debate that we had on House Bill 470, and so I will just make a few brief remarks today in the totality of the circumstances and given all of the debate that we heard yesterday on this floor and all of the contention that went along with Senate Bill 5. I'm not a doctor, and there's a lot that I heard the gentleman from Lincoln describe in this committee sub that would greatly impact the practitioners in this Commonwealth. We're in the midst of an unprecedented shortage of healthcare workers, and I cannot understand why, at this last minute, on this last day, we are considering legislation that would criminalize our doctors for treating our children. I'm not a teacher, and a lot of you may not know this, but I was born in India. My family and I moved to Louisville when I was about 6 years old so that my brother could get the special education that he needed. I went to public schools my whole life, and I remember every single teacher who was the least bit kind to me. Because even with supportive parents, supportive teachers, supportive friends, being a kid is hard, especially if you're different in any way. And I cannot understand why at this last minute, on this last day, we would penalize teachers for caring for our kids in the midst of an unprecedented shortage of educators. Mr. Speaker, I'm not a Christian. I'm not a particularly religious person. But I was raised in a faith tradition that is thousands of years older than Christianity. Hinduism, like almost every other ancient faith tradition, recognizes transgenderism and the fluidity of gender identity. So the idea that this is something new, this is something that's been made up recently and is being pushed on our kids is patently false. In my tradition, transgenderism and gender fluidity has been exalted, as it has been in a lot of other ancient cultures. There are about as many ways to worship as there are people on this earth. But what I know of this world and how to treat people didn't come from somebody telling me what they believed. My parents, my grandparents, they're the ones that showed me how to have compassion and not judgment, how to try to help anyone who is struggling without imposing my own morality on them. I am a lawyer, and this bill is great for lawyers. It will result in all kinds of litigation. And any legislation where lawyers are the only ones who benefit should give us all pause. Mr. Speaker, my district is made up of hardworking families just like your districts are. They are not paying me today or any other day to talk about or further laws that make their lives harder. Parents of trans kids have called and emailed me, afraid and confused. Doctors have emailed and called me, afraid and confused. Teachers have called me and emailed me, afraid and confused. On their behalf, I will be a no on this committee sub. I will be a no on this piece of legislation. And to every child that is listening or watching today, I want you to know that we in this body are on the wrong side of history, the wrong side of the law, and on the wrong side of the most basic tenets of humanity. We owe our tax-paying citizens far more than what we are showing them here today. And I can only hope that our constituents will tell us loud and clear in the days and the weeks and the months to come just how wrong we got it today.
Chair recognizes the lady from Jefferson.